Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Been away for a year now. Good to be back with a new tactic. Well, a recreation of an old tactic that we've done. I want to say before we start, a big thank you to people who've subscribed while I've been away. Like I say, it wasn't an easy decision to kind of set away. It was a bit of a hobby this for me. It wasn't kind of nothing serious, but the idea was to create a few videos leading up to kind of FM25 at the time, and then hopefully kind of the idea was maybe start on kind of like an even platform with everybody else, with there being kind of a new format, a new game, so to speak. But didn't work out that way. Things kind of happened, a bit of life going in the way. But while I've been away, we've had a few more subscribers. You've still been watching the videos, over 35,500 views now, which is fantastic. Looking at kind of X as well, or Twitter, there was kind of like a poll done where I was still featured in the top 50 of most watched FM YouTube creators, which was crazy, but kind of great to see, and kind of still kind of inspired me to kind of come back and do a video when kind of the new game was released. That idea was going to be FM25, which, as we know, didn't materialise. But we're here now, kind of another year on, 2 years away in terms of a new game. But we've got FM26 here, open to mixed reviews. Game before we start, my personal opinion is I quite like the game. There's elements I like, there's elements I don't. I know it's quite buggy at the moment, and there's a certainly divided kind of Football Manager fans. I'm kind of open-minded. I don't mind the new format. I love the new match engine. I think there's just room to improve as well. That'll only get better and better. The UI, I know, has kind of created a lot of controversy. For me, I'm getting my head around it. I've had to reset my brain like many others. But I never really used the initial UI anyway in any kind of Football Manager games. I was went for like the Tato skin. It was a kind of favourite of mine. So I'm just relearning, find out where everything is. I think everything's there that I'm used to. It's just in a different location. My biggest gripe, if I had one, was I feel as though it's missing a lot of what Football Manager made it. Football Manager for me was all the data, the kind of in-depth kind of analysis. I feel though that's kind of gone in this version, FM26. I do hope it comes back. We'll probably look at that as we go through. We know the data hub, the in-game stats as well, which I really liked, and certainly from my point of view, when I'm trying to recreate tactics, it's something I used a lot. I do hope that comes back. I do hope that's just a kind of time thing where eventually we will get to see all that back and we get all that data. Because for me, that's what made Football Manager, set it apart from kind of other management games, was the depth, the information. You didn't have to use that if you didn't want to as well, which I know was the beauty of Football Manager. Some people weren't interested in all that, but I do hope it comes back, and that's just my only, at the moment, personal kind of, disappointment, should we say, at the moment. But here we are, new kind of save recreation. Something we have done before in FM24. It's my home team I support, season ticket holder. I attend with my son for games and stuff. It is Sunderland. Again, a team that's gone through a lot of transition since we probably last done this tactic. Something I want to choose because I'm quite familiar with the team, or I think I am. And obviously with the new FM coming out with the new kind of tactics, the in possession, out of possession, I thought it was something I could maybe kind of dive into and kind of have a little bit of, I get used to the game itself as well, and these new kind of formations, these new kind of tools at our disposal to recreate these tactics. And it's also a team, I think, that has a good blend of kind of defensive attributes as well as attacking as well, and maybe he's trying to recreate that as well and get the most out of a formation that we're kind of trying to show what FM26 can do now with this kind of new variations. So we're going to kind of delve into it in a second. A little bit about Sunderland, for those of you who probably don't know. Big club, my eyes, massive fan base. Had some tough times over the years, dropped down to League One, kind of fought our way back, had a couple of years in the Championship, and we now find ourselves back in the Premier League for the 25-26 season. Promoted by the playoffs last season, not the best team in the league by any stretch of the imagination, somewhere behind the top three. We beat Sheffield United in the playoff finals. Some kind of may say we're kind of lucky, etc., but we found ourselves in the Premier League. Spent 150 million in the summer, made some really good signings, arguably pretty much a new squad, although there's still elements of the Championship team in the first team squad. But at the time of recording this, we made a fantastic start. We're sitting somewhere like fourth in the Premier League, which even Football Manager, pundits, other fans alike, and even as a Sunderland fan, certainly weren't expecting that. We were tipped for relegation. Some even saying we'd get the lowest points there. I think it was beating Derby, is it? I think it was the lowest, 9 points. It hasn't materialised that way. We bought well, like I say, £150 million spent. Likes of Granit Xhaka, Habib Diarra, Siddiqui, brought in Dingra, Talbi, Really kind of spent really well. A bit of mix of a kind of youth and experience. Biellier, centre-back from Paris Saint-Germain, Overachieving from Getafe, just naming a kind of couple of them, while maintaining a few of the kind of core players from the Championship. Hume, Isidore, Allende still kind of on the fringes of the team there. Dan Ballard at centre-back, who kind of starts the season really well, a bit of an injury. So into the tactic then. In possession and out possession tactics are now a new thing in FM26. Gives you a little bit more flexibility to really focus on certain areas and certain positions, individuals as well. Our starting formation in possession is going to be 4-3-3. We'll discuss the out possession a little bit later. I'll focus on the in possession. Then we'll go on into the out possession, and then I'll show you the other additional bits that's been added to the game. Fluid counter-attacking style, which we mentioned before, is going to be Sunderland's mentality. Gone for a positive mentality to accompany that as well. If you're playing kind of away or playing maybe the top 6 in the division, you could maybe drop down to balanced or cautious even, as a kind of a counter-attack and absorb that pressure a little bit more. I've chosen positive mentality as the baseline for this one here. Going straight through them. Like I said before, in possession, it's a 4-3-3. Goalkeeper, Roofs or Patterson in this case. Take more risks. I've got him as a ball-playing goalkeeper in possession. Both keepers can play that fairly well. Like I say, trying to find that balance. You could easily go for a standard goalkeeper as well. Goalkeepers tend not to do anything kind of crazy or out there. Not really aggressive. There's kind of really aggressive ball-playing goalkeepers, but goalkeeper, ball-playing goalkeeper, either or is fine. PIs would accompany that then. Hard-coded, take more risks. Other than that, nothing else for the PIs on there. Going to the right-back position, I've just got a standard full-back in possession. That's Trey Hume in this case. Again, no additional PIs. Kept fairly simple. Standard full-back. In real life, all Hume does is very kind of, like you say, typical full-back, up and down that pitch. Doesn't really look for the overlap. Tough tackling, win that ball back. Perfect. 2 centre-backs in possession. I've got a ball-playing centre-back in Mukiele and a standard centre-back in Overachieving. Could quite happily have both of them as kind of ball-playing centre-backs. In this current Sunderland team, the centre-backs do get the ball. They do look to carry that ball forward. That's kind of the Sunderland's kind of philosophy, is get that ball, get some yards up the pitch. If the centre-backs can do that, great. If not, you've got the kind of midfielders in front of them, Xhaka, Siddiqui, Diarra, or Rig in this case as well, to also carry that ball forward. Look for those wide men. But in this case, I'm just going for one ball-playing defender. Mukiele is probably the most aggressive of the centre-backs we have, and a standard centre-back in possession. Ball-playing defender, again, in possession. Nothing else really hard added additionally, just to what's already pre-coded. Take more risks for the passing, make fewer runs going forward, etc. Very simple, very standard. Nothing additional on the in-possession PIs. Centre-back, Overachieving, exactly the same. Nothing additional, just your standard centre-back. Like I said before, that can be changed for a ball-playing defender. Certainly a role that this guy can play as well as Ballard. Does been not to pick up the ball, carry that forward, but I just want a little bit of balance. Left back, I've gone for a wing back in this case, a little bit more aggressive than the right hand side. Ronaldo takes up this position. It is already hard coded, no additional PIs again for this one in possession. Make more runs, already hard coded, which is expect. And yeah, he's kind of the more aggressive wing back, getting up that pitch a little bit more. He's got the pace to do that. He's also quite good at coming back as well defensively. So that's the back line in possession. Moving on to the midfield. In possession, Granit Xhaka in this case is a deep line playmaker. Again, nothing else hard-coded in possession. Sorry, additional PIs in possession. Passing risk, take more risks, already hard-coded. Make fewer runs, standard passing strategy. Fairly happy with that. Game, deep line playmaker. You can play defensive midfielder as well, but with that passing attributes, it'd be a bit silly not to kind of utilise that as a deep line playmaker role in possession. In front of that, we have a wide centre midfielder on the right-hand side. That is probably your old Mazzala, maybe. Diarra takes up this position. Chris Rigg, when Diarra is injured, as he is currently. And what I'm looking for that is, like I say, stay wider, support those midfielders, support those inside forwards, whatever you've chosen. Be an option, drift out wide, look to get the ball. In this case, I have added dribble more. I think the way Sunderland's midfielders do, as soon as they get that ball, it's all about driving, it's all about creating them yards, getting up the pitch, running at defences, creating space for your kind of wide players. You're striking out in front as well, pulling defenders out of position. So that's all. The only one I've pre-coded in possession for Diarra. So wide centre midfielder, dribble more. Moving on to the other side then, I've gone for a centre midfielder in this role. This is the role Siddiqui normally takes up currently. I was trying to recreate this kind of box-to-box midfielder style from a centre midfielder position. As we mentioned, that is now as a DM role, kind of what would be in your Segunde Volante. So now I've just got him as kind of midfielder. Again, I've added the additional dribble more. Like I say, with all midfielders, as soon as they get the ball, I want to create yards. I want to get up that pitch, drive forward, and obviously try and have good ball carriers that can do that. So that's the only additional one here is the dribble more. Everything else, pretty standard in possession. Both left and right attacking midfielders have both gone for wingers. You do have the option to have your kind of inside wingers or your inside forwards or your wide forwards as well. I think looking at the PIs for them, when you do select the kind of inside forward, I think they tend to run into these channels as the ball's kind of coming, obviously, from other team members. So they like initially look to really make them run straight away. I don't really want that. I want them to kind of stay wider. And then when they do get the ball wide, cut inside and run at the defence. And I found like the winger kind of role, to me, kind of support that a little bit better. So if we just take a look here, winger. You stay wider, creative threat, and then I've just got them to kind of like cut inside anyway with the ball. The other ones, I think they kind of start moving into that channel position, even if they haven't got the ball, and I didn't really want to kind of create that. The only one that maybe stays close to that, what I'm trying to do with the winger, is maybe the wide forward, where he stays wide and becomes a goal threat. But I still want that kind of creativity from these guys. So probably something I maybe have to look at a bit more. Yeah, it's early days in the game. I'm kind of getting used to kind of the roles, but for this purpose of this tactic, 2 wingers either side, cutting inside with the ball. So if we just take a look, additional PIs for this one with in possession is cutting inside with the ball. I do tend to have the kind of dribble more as well. Something I kind of toy with because of the kind of the technical ability that these guys have and the pace. Get them to dribble more. They do have good dribbling. Go at them defenders, cause problems. Other than that, I've not got any other additional PI, so it's cutting inside of the ball, dribble more in possession. That's kind of both sides as well. You see there, I tend to kind of take this off, maybe home or away, be a bit more aggressive at home. Leading up to the striker in possession then, I've gone for the channel forward on this one. It's something that Isidore plays fairly well. So what you probably see is kind of when the attacks kind of are getting made, he can kind of drop into these little channels here, looking to kind of pick up the ball, either from the wingers or from the centre mids. Again, nothing additional. He's already got moving to channels on there. Nothing else I would really touch. Maybe shoot less often if you find that you're being wasteful with chances, as you would obviously other FMs. But yeah, nothing additional in there from that in possession point of view. So we go into the out of possession. Out of possession, the tactic we've gone for is kind of a 4-1-4-1. The aim of kind of the Sunderland's kind of ethic is basically everyone defends, everyone does the job, win that ball back, look to recycle quickly, directly, get up that pitch. So in this case, when we're looking at the kind of tactic, it is everyone kind of coming back, 4-1-4-1, striker kind of hovering slightly higher to receive the kind of counter-attacking outlet, if you like. But in possession, again, player roles, goalkeeper, nothing additional on there, just whatever's pre-coded. The goalkeeper, standard goalkeeper as well for him. Now, both fullbacks have gone for pressing fullbacks in this case. Again, no additional PIs. Out of possession. Trigger press is already hard-coded because it's pressing fullback. I've kept kind of marking tighter and tackling off as well, purely because when you watch Sunderland in real time, they tend to shadow up the kind of winger. We're quite happy to receive crosses into the box, deal with them fairly comfortably. So I've tried to mirror that by not having these guys tackle as harder and hopefully not concede any kind of dangerous free kicks in dangerous positions. Centre backs in, 2 standard centre backs in this case. Again, a little bit of a bug here, keeps telling me the wrong possession role. Just go to the out of possession. Yeah, standard centre backs. Trigger press more often. I've got Mark tighter on this one as well, and tackle harder. Try and win that ball back. Very aggressive centre backs, and both of them exactly the same. Keep seeing wing back in possession. It is not. Hope that gets sorted. Yeah, so trigger press, mark tighter, tackle harder. Centre-back row. Again, you have two other options here, stopping centre-back or covering centre-back. Probably worthwhile experimenting with both of them. I didn't want them stepping out as much, being a stopping centre-back. Hopefully stop them pull themselves out of position. Want them to kind of maintain that kind of static back line. Again, on the left-hand side, just your pressing full-back. Exactly the same as the right-hand side, no difference there. Midfield, Xhaka now becomes a DM. Again, no additional PI. Sorry, yes, trigger press more often on this one and tackle harder as well. Really have that grit in midfield. And the role is as a DM. Again, you could want to be a bit more defensive. You're playing maybe a top team away from home. Dropping defensive midfielder wouldn't be a bad one to bolster that back line, or even a screening defensive midfielder as well. Although these tend to hold the position a little bit more. Xhaka, at the time of doing this tactic, is kind of covering a lot of ground. He's up there, kind of high stats of coverage on the pitch. So he's a guy that's hunting these kind of players down, closing down space, winning that ball back, recycling possession. So then we kind of almost have a midfield of 5 here, defending the midfielders coming back, so they become wide midfielders. There is an option, and I have tried this, is to have them as tracking midfielders. So let's click on here, out of possession. So you can have them as like a tracking midfielder where they actually trap back and support the defence. That is something that you probably would see, but I kind of found that they're maybe a little bit too narrow. So I went for the wide midfielder, just to stay out wide, but still have that aggressive kind of defensive capability. So coming back, assisting. If you look at the PIs here, yeah, trigger press more often, tackling harder, and I would have a marked position as well. What I would go for on this is pretty much the same as FM24, as the left defender. In this case, the right winger marks the left defender. Again, exactly the same on the left, except obviously he'd be marking the opposite side, so he'd be marking their right back. Just kind of put a bit of pressure on them, close them down, try and win that ball back. And if their kind of wingers are kind of trying to come forward, hopefully these guys are putting pressure on them, forcing mistakes, turnover. Two centre midfielders in are pressing centre midfielders, emphasising that kind of very aggressive press, win that ball back. Out of possession, trigger press more often, tackle harder, and that's it, additional wise. The striker now becomes a kind of a central outlet, centre forward, so he's going to kind of stay slightly higher, look for that, dropping that space when over the ball is won back, be that outlet, to then obviously he's got a bit of pace, Isidore, so he's kind of very comfortable to do that. You can see here, very simple, no additional PIs in this one, very straightforward. So that's the in possession, out possession tactics. In possession 4-3-3, out of possession 4-1-4-1 or a 4-5-1 if you like. Fluid counter-attacking style, positive mentality. Now, a few little kind of features you can get a kind of combined view there now. If you put kind of both on, you can see how both are kind of going to set up position-wise. If you look at your team instructions as well, you have this great little feature where you can see where all your players are going to be when you're in possession, out of possession. So as you can see, as we move up the pitch, where all of our players are going to be in relation to when the ball's in that area. Really great little feature. And out of possession, exactly the same. So you can see how you're going to defend, where your players are going to be. As I mentioned before about the midfielders, I found them maybe a little bit too centralised, but yeah, I kind of want them to be that little bit wider, not kind of get dragged into a tight ball in the middle, offer that little bit of width still, even when it kind of comes to defending. So go back to team shape then, look at the team instructions, and again we can kind of go through each phase to find out what team instructions we do. Cross engagement, I do sometimes have kind of invite crosses as well. It's certainly something that Sunderland do in real life, very comfortable with dealing with them. As we move up, press and trap, we're trapping inside. We want the kind of midfielders to do all the work, win that ball back. Certainly with that 5-man midfield, certainly kind of it really does help. As we move up the pitch, prevent short goalkeeper distribution in that high press, which Sunderland do by the way. We are a team that does like to press. We're not afraid to kind of put a press on quite high, but we're also kind of really defensively solid as well. And that forms part of the kind of in possession. So our possession tactics, so I've looked at them first. So we are going to operate a mid-block. Defensive line, we're going to go slightly higher. This can be dropped back as you play top teams. Top 6, away from home maybe as well. Maybe drop this back a little bit more. Trigger press is going to be more often. We're very aggressive in the press. And we're going to counter press. We want to win that ball back. But when we do win that ball back, it's all about kind of getting that ball forward quickly, methodically, decisively, not very wasteful. And we obviously want to get stuck in. Again, cross engagement I mentioned before. You can invite crosses as well. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Trap inside, and we're going to prevent short goalkeeper distribution. One thing missing from here, I think, as well, is the... look at all instructions. Yeah, I think I've got step up more as well on here. You'll find that somewhere. I think it's a little bit missing from the overall possession tactics here. But passing directness, these will probably be in possession tactics. We are going to be more direct. It is a counter-attacking style. We want to be quick. What you'll see with Sunderland is we don't have a lot of possession. We don't really have a lot of passes. But when we do pass, it's fairly high accuracy. Looking at the stats, it's around about 80%, maybe a bit 89, 90% of passing accuracy. Possession-wise, we normally look around about between 35, 40% in some games. That's not to say if the chance to have possession is there, we won't take it. No, we certainly will. But majority of the time, we are kind of happy for the other team to have the ball. So that's the kind of style I'm trying to go for and trying to replicate. Passing directness, go more direct, higher tempo. When we do get the ball, we are quick in transition. Less time wasting, counter-attacking mentality, obviously. Attacking with, I've gone for narrower, just to aid in that kind of passing accuracy as well. Don't want people too far spread out. It's all about someone being there for the ball. We're going to play for set pieces. Creative freedom, just unbalanced. Play through the press as well. We're not just a team that just hoofs it up, but we do have a bit of technical ability about us. So we're going to play around them, play through them, use our kind of deep line playmaker to kind of initiate all them kind of attacks and jacker. Look for those wide men naturally. I didn't go for a kind of like a wider focus on the wings or anything like that either. Just let that do it naturally. Player comes through the middle. We've got players who can make their own mind up. So distribution, I've gone for mixed and distribute the centre backs. Goal kicks, we don't mess about really. We're not a team that naturally plays off from the back. We would have done in the championship, but I think we know our players here now. Sometimes, majority of the time, it's get that ball forward, then look to press and with that ball back high up the pitch. Play to our strengths. But we do distribute the centre backs. We do want control when obviously the opportunity arises. Supporting runs, again, I mentioned, I haven't gone for any underlaps or overlaps. I'm starting to look for that naturally. Dribbling, again, just on balance. I don't want the whole team to dribble the ball. There's just key players that I do. Again, progression. Not focus on a particular area. Let them players do it naturally. They find the wingers, which they seem to have done anyway in this tactic. Fantastic. If they play through the middle, we've got the players to do that with. The PIs of run with the ball, etc., dribble more often, and certainly the two midfield roles there. Build up strategy, we've already mentioned. Pass reception, again, I've just got for balanced. Could kind of change that to passing to space. You're going to be a bit more dynamic, got a bit more counter-attacking, but like I said before, our passing stats are fairly high. If you've put passing to space, you may see that drop significantly. Patience, again, just standard. Shoot from distance, balanced. Again, crossing style, balanced as well. Could maybe drop that under low, but I do like that kind of, with having maybe as the odd winger. Now and again, playing in his right position, you do obviously get them kind of mixed crosses into the box. If you have like a target man or a tall striker, it's going to benefit you. So those are the possession tactics there. In possession, we've already kind of been through as well. I don't think there's anything to add to that. But there is if I can find it. There should be an option somewhere. Let's see here, line of engagement. I don't know why it kind of got missing. Might be a bit of a bug, to be honest with you. Defensive line behaviour, step up more. It's not letting me go to that, but yeah, there we go. So line of engagement, which I mentioned, mid-block, higher defensive line, drop that back as and when, if you think you're playing a top of team. Step up more, again, nothing wrong with having kind of a balanced mentality either if you're playing the bigger teams that you think you may have more possession or more chance to win the ball back from. Take that higher. Certainly wouldn't use drop off more. You don't want to create that kind of gap in defensive midfield. But again, playing one of the kind of top six, the bigger teams, may not be a bad option to try and cover them through balls. Or if you think you are suffering from a lot of through balls, played behind your defence. So I think that covers pretty much everything in terms of the tactic. Out of possession, we've discussed player roles. We've discussed the new features on here as well. You can see if you're enjoying this tactic, you'd give it a try. I think I've used it now. I've used it in my beta save as well as doing the kind of attack recreation here. Results wise, if you have a little look at the competitions, Premier League, and you can see we finished 4th in the league. Fantastic achievement for Sunderland, not bad for a kind of a counter-attacking mentality here. 38 games played, 21-1, drew 5, lost 12, scored 61, conceded 54, goal difference to 7. Not setting the kind of, well, not amazing stats, I suppose, if you're a player that's looking for kind of crazy kind of goal scoring, defensively solid, but not bad for a Premier League team. I'm actually 4th in me beat to save as well, but I'm quite happy with that, and I think you probably would be too, as a tactic that we try to recreate. Now, a little bit disappointed with this data hub at the moment, but can't really show you too many stats like I used to be able to. Hope that's something that they do bring back, as I mentioned at the start there. But pass completion, we hit that 90%, which is what we're looking for. Tackles won, 75%. We'd like to say that probably a little bit higher, just to reflect how good we are defensively. 13 shots per game, 42% on target. Maybe an opportunity to refine that, maybe be less wasteful in the shooting. We are conceding 1.4 a game, so I think I probably would focus on the defensive side a little bit more. Maybe just take the press and fullbacks off, try and keep them in position. Maybe drop that back line off a bit more and not step up too often as well. The possession-wise, I think hard to show you if I can find out how to do this. So possession stats in, I'd like to show you kind of an overall percentage of it. Like I said, I think there's a lot of data missing from this data hub at this moment. I really do hope it's something that gets brought back and quickly as well, because I feel as though for me it's like the guts of the game. But anyway, as you can see, possession-wise, Freddie wins ball, reliable in possession. Pretty much sums up where we want to be, kind of Sunderland. What I wanted to show you was kind of the defensive quarter, how a lot of the action centres around that centre midfield, and really our own defensive third, but winning that ball back and recycling it quickly. But overall, I think you'll agree, fairly great tactic, finishing 4th with Sunderland. Fantastic achievement. We are currently 4th in real life, and I've mirrored that in my kind of beta save as well. Few kind of additions I made with changes, maybe experiment with your wingers, have them as maybe inside forwards or inverted wingers. I have tried that on my beta. It does work really well. I think goal-wise, if we have a look at the kind of stats, if you can have a little look at this. So goal-wise, Brian Bobby, 18 goals. Behind him, Talibi, that winger on the right-hand side or left, whichever way you want to play him. 10 goals, 6 assists. Behind them, Dinger on 8. Dan Neil as well, chipping in with 5 goals, which is not bad. Granit Xhaka. Overall, not a bad season. Would like to obviously try and score a few more, but as you build your team up, focus on your defence, bring them better players, and these players will develop. There's a few there are quite young, want to get better and better as well. So overall, I think that's kind of a great season. We're really happy with that. 4th Champions League football next season. Will we mirror that in real life? Maybe not. And what we'll do is I'll show you a quick few kind of goals, see how they were scored. Again, hopefully you'll have a look to see how we utilise a wing player without really telling them to utilise it. See how they can kind of figure it out and see how the game flows. Games-wise, you can see, did fairly okay. A bit of a rough patch around December and January, which I'm actually expecting in real life as well. Look at some of the games we played. Man City twice, Liverpool, we lost to Leeds at home, which is probably a disappointing result, but through the Newcastle, our rivals. Hopefully that's going to be a win in real life this season. But we'll have a look at some of these goals here, show you the match engine as well.